Hare Krishna. We welcome everyone to our online class on Srimad Bhagavatam. Because of the rains, we are forced to have class online today. Mumbai rains are very notorious, so we have to do the needful. So we'll continue our discussions from the first canto, 5th chapter, text number 9, 10, 11. I think last time we covered text number 10 and 11. I think 11 also we discussed. But since these verses are very, very special and very important, I would like you to repeat after me these verses and somebody can read the translation. Who would like to read the translations today after we chant the verse? Rajan Prabhu, would you like to read? Okay. So you'll have to unmute and read the translation after we finish chanting the verse. So before we chant verse number 10 of the first canto, 5th chapter, just like to give a summary. Srila Vyasadeva is being scolded by his spiritual teacher, Narada Muni, who is telling him that you have written so many literatures, but you haven't directly glorified Krishna. Because there are devotees who want to hear about Krishna directly. Why are you hesitating to glorify Krishna? And while explaining this, Narad Muni says these two very famous legendary verses of the 5th chapter, text number 10 and 11, which we chanted last time, but we'll repeat them again today. So please repeat after me, text number 10. Naya dvachaschitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram pragranita kariche tadvayasam tirtamushanti manasa
Tadvayasam tirthamushanti manasa
nayatra hamsa niramantu shikshaya
nayantra hamsa nirmantu shikshaya. Those words which do not describe the glories of Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be.
So this is a very famous verse where Narad Muni is saying those who don't glorify Krishna, they are like crows. And those who like to glorify Krishna, they are like swans. So this is a very poetic way of saying that. And then Srila Prabhupada, of course, writes in the purport that crow-like people do not gather, swan-like devotees do not gather in the places where crow-like material is joined for conferences and meetings. So very, very graphically Srila Prabhupada writes this. And then we discussed last time how we have a percentage of swan and crow in us. We don't like to hear pure Krishna Katha, but we also don't love to do gossip. We like little bit of gossip, little bit of Krishna Katha. So there is some percentage of crow in us, maybe 50% crow and 50% swan. So the whole process of Krishna consciousness is how to increase the swan percentage and reduce the crow percentage. That's the whole process of bhakti. How we can get taste for hearing about Krishna. So this is what we discussed last time. And then the power of glorification of Krishna is revealed in one of the most legendary verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which Srila Prabhupada quotes in the first page of Srimad Bhagavatam. In the book, you open the first canto, Prabhupada writes this verse, Tadvag Visargo. He quotes this very, very famous verse, which is text number 11. So please repeat after me. Tadvag Visargo Janataga Viplavo.
Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo
Yasmin Pratishlokamabhadyavatyapi
Yasmin pratishlokamabhadyavatyapi api
Namananantasya yashonkitanyat
Namanyanantasya yashonkitanyat
Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava
Shrinvanti gayanti grinanti sadhava. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the Supreme Lord, is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed towards bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization.
So
Such
here
transcendental
go on. Sorry.
Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest.
Here a lot of hope is given that even if you're imperfect, even if your pronunciation is not good, even if your English is not good, even if you don't have language skills, but if you have a sincere desire to glorify Krishna, it will bring about a revolution in the human society. Viplavo means revolution. And Narad Muni is saying, Abhadya Vatyapi, even if your composition of Krishna Katha is not grammatically correct, still it has power to bring about a revolution. And this is a very, very important verse because in one sense, this shloka reveals the arrival of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada in US, when he came, he had a distinctive Bengali accent, but still he could transform the hearts of a lot of young boys and girls. In fact, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport to this verse, this is as if he's predicting the revolution that Bhagavatam would cause in the later years. Prabhupada wrote this purport before he went to the US. He writes, English is a foreign language to me, and I'm not so good in English, but I'm confident that because my attempt is sincere, my work will bring about a revolution in the human society. So it is as if Srila Prabhupada knows that this is going to happen. So this is very, very important that we want to glorify Krishna. We believe in personhood of Krishna. We want to have a relationship with Krishna. That is our process. Sometimes people accuse, when Srila Prabhupada was in Russia, that time Russia was governed by the communist regime. The KGB was in power. So Professor Dr. Potowski, he challenged Srila Prabhupada that you are believing in a God, you are believing in personhood. We don't believe in that. So Srila Prabhupada countered him by saying that you also believe in personhood. You are surrendered to Lenin. You are following Lenin's philosophy of communism. And you have Lenin's statues all over Moscow. That means you have surrendered to Lenin. The difference is your guru is Lenin, your surrender is to Lenin, and our surrender is to Krishna. So both of us are following a person. But Srila Prabhupada could challenge this. So just like for you, just like for your friends outside, famous cricket players, they're a person. Ranveer Singh is a person. Modi is a person. So you have some emotions when you hear about these names. Similarly, for a pure devotee, Krishna is a person and he goes through emotions. Just like nowadays in India, if somebody hears the name Nupur Sharma, suddenly emotions go through, as if. So similarly, for devotees, it is Krishna. Krishna is not some name, only an ordinary name, or Krishna is not some concept. Prabhupada and Bhagavatam is teaching us that Krishna is a person and we need to connect to Krishna. So in that mood, Srila Prabhupada is presenting Bhagavatam, and in that mood, Narad Muni is scolding Vyasadeva. We saw last time also, we have been reading for the last few weeks how Narad Muni is using strong language. In fact, last week we discussed how Narad Muni tells Vyasadeva that all that you have written till now is khilam. Khilam means waste. To tell this to an accomplished author whose works are going to be read and heard for the rest of humanity, and somebody who has knowledge in all fields and somebody who has contributed so immensely for the welfare of mankind, to call him and his works as khilam, a waste, is indeed very strong language. In fact, in a cultured society, we often see we don't use strong language. I grew up watching cricket as a young boy, and we would watch television and there would be cricket commentary going on. And English commentators would use very decent language. If somebody played a very bad shot, and we would shout, oh, such a lousy shot, such a stupid shot. But the commentators would say, this is not one of the best shots he has played. So I would ask my father, why is he saying this is not one of the best shots? Why doesn't he say that this is a horrible thing he's doing? So my father would say, no, this is not one of the best shots he's playing, means This is a very stupid thing. But in cultured society, we don't say directly that it is bad. So you can imagine what kind of relationship Narad Muni must be having with Vyasadeva, how much trust he must be having in his disciple, that he could directly tell him that what you have written is a waste. And not only that, what is important here is relationship with Krishna. See, Narad Muni, Vyasadeva, they are all operating at a very different level. At that level, from that context, when we see a devotee, guru like Narad Muni scolding his disciple, there is a lot of compassion there. When Srila Prabhupada called people rascals, or when he scolded people for not taking to Krishna consciousness, there was a lot of intense compassion. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives a very beautiful example that one day children were flying kites in the terrace of a building. And one of the child who was flying the kite was standing very precariously on the edge of the roof of the terrace. He could fall any moment down. So one elderly person saw this and he shouted, "Oh, stupid child, don't do that. Get out, get out from there. You will fall down." But his friends were all encouraging him to fly the kite and stand there and go further. So as this old man was shouting, everybody told this boy that, see, this man is very abusive. He's scolding you. He doesn't understand that you are flying the kite so nicely. So Srila Prabhupada would say this story to say how a pure devotee, when he's scolding someone to take up to Krishna consciousness, the pure devotee can see that this materialistic person is standing on the edge of suicide. His spiritual life is going to end. He's in a very precarious condition. So out of compassion, he's telling him, don't do this, don't do this. But instead of accepting that compassionate chastisement, we think that pure devotees are, they are arrogant, or they're proud, or they're scolding for no reason. It's actually pure devotees' vision that human life is very precious. Don't waste it in sense gratification. Take shelter of Krishna. Don't waste time. It's like materialistic people who are engaging in sense gratification. They are like a person who is driving a very beautiful car, full speed, on the top of a mountain, and is on the edge of the cliff, and is driving full speed. And a pure devotee is standing close to the cliff and is seeing this car rushing towards the edge. The car is going to fall. So the pure devotee is standing and saying, "Get out of the car. Stop, stop. Your path is suicidal. You are engaging in sense gratification. Your life is bereft of Krishna. You are going to hell. You're going to suffer. Don't do this. Stop, stop, stop." However, the materialistic person who is driving the car of sense gratification and is enjoying, he looks at this pure devotee's appeals, compassionate appeals, and he thinks that this pure devotee, poor fellow, he is scolding me because he doesn't have a car. He doesn't have access to sense gratification. That's why he's scolding me. You even understand that the pure devotee is chastising not because he doesn't have access to sense gratification. He's chastising because he's seeing the dangerous path that a materialistic person is taking by pursuing sense gratification. In fact, devotees are saying, "Stop the car, go back, take a U-turn, take a U-turn." In fact, the tilak we have is a sign, take a U-turn. When a preacher is having a tilak, he's telling the people, "Stop, stop, don't engage in sense gratification, go back." So have a relationship with Krishna and then begin a new life of complete, deep satisfaction. So the main message of Narad Muni in this entire section is that, my dear disciple Vyasadeva, you are not satisfied because you are not giving Krishna Maya. You are not making people Krishna Maya. You're not making them Krishnaized. Vyasadeva may protest. No, I have glorified Krishna in so many Puranas, so many places. So last time we discussed an example for this. That when you are serving a big feast of lunch, you serve little pickle and little salt and little, kushumbri in our South Indian style, little of the things. And then the main item is served in the center of the leaf plate, like your pulav or your kofta or your paneer. That is the main item. But the main item, which is like the item that has been cooked for the feast, if that is served in little pieces like salt or pickle, then you will say, "Arey, ye to main cheez to aapne itna kam diya." And imagine somebody serving on your leaf plate so much of achar, so much of pickles. You will say, "Arey, but this is a side item. Why are you giving me so much of pickles?" Similarly, Vyasadeva gave Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, which is supposed to be little given. He gave that as the main thing, and Krishna Bhakti he served very little of Krishna Bhakti. So therefore, exclusive glorification of Krishna has not been done by Vyasadeva. Narad Muni wants Vyasadeva to do that. And that is why these instructions are very powerful. So main message of these 11 verses which we have read till last week is that, my dear disciple, you please don't beat around the bush. Don't go indirect and indirect. Come directly to the point. Glorify Krishna. So this is what Narad Muni is saying. Make number one priority of glorifying Krishna. Now, I will discuss something very practical. How can we become like Vyasadeva right now? Like Vyasadeva, he heard this instruction, right? And he composed Srimad Bhagavatam. And his life became perfect. So how can our lives become perfect like Vyasadeva? What is this entire section teaching us practically that what we can do in our devotional life by which we can also become Krishnaized like Vyasadeva has become? So we are going to discuss how we can also experience Krishna in our lives. Now, to experience or to become Krishnaized or Krishna conscious, we need to change the style of our approaching Krishna. See, when we approach Krishna in our prayers, generally I've discussed this in the few classes also, earlier classes, that when we offer prayers, we generally praise the Lord, or we thank the Lord, we beg forgiveness from the Lord. And the last thing is we ask for benedictions. But the problem is, we are good in seeking forgiveness. We are good in thanking the Lord for the gifts we get. And we also are expert in asking from the Lord. But the first element of prayer is praising the Lord. And praising the Lord is very, very difficult. Very few devotees come in front of the deities and they actually offer heartfelt appreciation and praise for the Lord. Just like if you like someone in your office, in your home, amongst your friends, how will you appreciate, how will you praise that person? Prabhu, you are such a nice devotee of Krishna. You have this nice service attitude. I really like the way you do kirtan. Prabhu, you are so nice. Have you ever appreciated someone like that? And how do you feel when you appreciate a person genuinely? That person becomes happy and you also become happy. But when we come in front of Krishna, this element of prayer, which is praise, is very little. Generally, in our prayers, we are very emotional and we invest a lot of feelings in terms of asking for forgiveness or asking for gifts. So, what Narad Muni is telling us is that become Krishna conscious means when you come in front of Krishna, praise Krishna. Change the quality of your prayers. Like, see, when we are praising the Lord, when we hear pastimes of the Lord, we are entering Krishna's space. We are listening about Krishna on Krishna's terms. And it's only then that we can hear Krishna's voice in our heart. If we hear Krishna Katha, if we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, from the space of my problems, my worries, my issues, and I need practical help, if that is our driving force when we are hearing Bhagavatam class, then we won't hear the Lord's voice in our heart. We will hear our own mind's voice. But when we enter Bhagavatam class, switching off our needs and our aspirations, and simply want to hear about Krishna and glorify Krishna, then by that practice, the Lord in the heart will speak to us. That's how it happens. That's how our prayers become exciting. See, we need to learn to praise Krishna in a very natural way. See, generally, I'll tell you honestly, let us be very honest. When you come in front of the Lord, how often have you glorified Krishna simply because Krishna is wonderful? It's very difficult for devotees to glorify Krishna. See, you may glorify your friend or a colleague in office, but how will you glorify Krishna? There is a very simple technique which I will share with you. And you just try this technique tonight or morning, as I see Sriji Vallabhi Mataji is in America. So if you offer this prayer in the morning or night, through this technique, you will see that your praising the Lord becomes more effective, your prayers become more meaningful, and you feel affection for Krishna. And you can see your emotional relationship with Krishna becoming more dynamic. And what is that technique? It's a very simple technique. Okay, just imagine you are told to give a 10-minute class on Krishna. So what will you do? Now you will tell the audience, Krishna is very beautiful, Krishna has a peacock feather, Krishna is putting his right hand on the shoulder of his friend, and on his left hand he's twirling a lotus flower, and with the corner of his eyes he's looking at the gopis, and simultaneously is composing poetry, and with his feet he's kicking Arishtasur and killing him. So like that you will glorify Krishna in a class, or you will glorify different prayers of Brahmaji, and you will speak pastimes of Krishna. Krishna's body is anointed with the dust and minerals of Vrindavan. So this is how we glorify Krishna. This is how we speak about Krishna. Now, imagine instead of this 10-minute class to an audience, imagine you have to give this class to Krishna. You are not giving a class about Krishna, but you are giving a class to Krishna. Means if Krishna is in front of you, how will you speak what you have read or what you see? When you're giving a class, you're telling the audience, you're telling them about Krishna in third person. Krishna is third person. Krishna did this. Krishna went to the forest. Krishna killed Putana when he was a small baby. So in all this narration, Krishna is the third person. But when you speak to Krishna the same thing, you will say, Krishna, when you were a small baby, you killed Putana. Like in Brahma Vimohan Leela, if you have to speak Brahma Vimohan Leela to the audience, you would say, oh, Brahmaji kidnapped Krishna's friends, and Krishna is so wonderfully created duplicate set of boys and calves. But if you come in front of the deities and you speak this whole pastime after reading the Krishna book, if you say, Krishna, you are so expert, when Brahmaji kidnapped your friends, you created a duplicate. So what happens here is, you are connecting with Krishna in first person. This is the meaning of practical application of prayer or praise in a prayer. Like if you say, Krishna, you have such a beautiful peacock feather. When morning when darshan opens, we sing, Govindam Adi Purusham. So as we are chanting these prayers, Venum Kwanvantam, we are actually singing Krishna's glories. To the extent we invest our emotions, to the extent we actually speak the meaning of these verses in our inner mind, in our inner voice, which is the Madhyama Vak, then to that extent we are actually connecting with Krishna. So therefore, we have to learn to glorify Krishna. Unfortunately, this aspect of prayer is lacking enough, and that's why we don't experience completeness in Krishna consciousness, although we are externally practicing devotees. Our bhakti practices become ritualistic because we are not connecting to Krishna as a person like we connect to our family and friends. And when Krishna hears this genuine appreciation coming from us, Krishna will reward us with deep happiness. And the best part is, not only you get deep happiness because you're connecting with Krishna by glorifying him directly, but you will see you will get also practical help. You'll get answers to your existing problems at home. It's like telling the best personality in this world, I love you. And Krishna, you are so beautiful. Krishna, you are so nice. So Krishna becomes very happy and he says, hey, don't worry about your problem. This is the solution. And Krishna will give you the solution. He will reveal the solution within your heart. Unfortunately, most of us, when we hear Bhagavatam classes and glorification of Krishna, we are looking for practical solutions. Many times devotees come and say, Prabhuji, your class was very practical today. No, that is unfortunate, because when we say, I want practical class, what I'm saying is, I'm actually looking for answers to my problems. And to the extent I'm looking for answers to my problems, I am living in my space. But when I am not looking for answers to my problems, when I'm hearing Bhagavatam classes, and when I'm praying to the Lord, I'm not looking for any practical solution, but I'm only glorifying Krishna. I'm only living in Krishna's space. then although it sounds it sounds very counterintuitive, but it is counterintuitive, but it is actually the truth that if you want practical help from the Lord, don't ask for practical help. Glorify the Lord regardless of your current situation. Enter Krishna's space. Krishna's life, Krishna's pastimes are beyond your life. Enter a world which is beyond your head, beyond your worries. And when we live in that space, Krishna very mercifully helps us in our world. That's how our life becomes beautiful. Okay, I'll give an example. Those of you who have seen movies, you watch movies. Now, if you watch a good movie, let's say a suspense thriller movie, and you say that, you know what, I don't have patience. Just let me go to the last 5 minutes. Let me see who is the killer. So you want practical, you want solution. So then you don't relish the movie, right? But if you watch that thriller movie right from the beginning, and you may say, "Arey, boring hai, what is this? There is a gun hanging behind that painting. What is that? That old lady is reading the newspaper." Slowly the movie is going. But in the last scene of the movie, you will realize, oh, that gun hanging behind that portrait painting was the gun from which the bullet was fired. Or that old lady reading the newspaper, she's the one who knew the murderer. So all the dots get connected at the end of the movie. All the things which you thought were irrelevant, suddenly they all fit in their place. Similarly, in our lives, if we live in Krishna's space, if we hear about Krishna's pastimes, if we glorify Krishna, if we try to be Krishna Maya, in the sense, it is not about me. Bhagavatam, see, why Narad Muni gave Bhagavatam to Vyasdev? To tell Vyasdev that you have to give Bhagavatam means you have to give Krishna according to Krishna's terms, not according to the bread and butter problems of human beings. So what happens then is, if we live in Krishna's space, then our whole life becomes like a movie. And in fact, a day becomes like a movie. So at the end of the day, all the things that happened in your day make sense. They all fall in place. Everything is for a reason. Life becomes beautiful. Otherwise, we get confused. We are wondering what is happening. We want quick fixes. When you want quick fixes, you don't get them. Quick fixes are on the spot, impromptu improvisation of scriptures that you hear. You cannot get practical solution for your 21st century problems from scriptures. When you hear scriptures in Krishna's space, then you get solutions to modern day problems. How many of you follow cricket? I don't know, but I recently went to one devotee's house. They were walking with him in the garden next to his house. And he said, "Prabhuji, my son is playing cricket. Let's go and encourage him." So I walked with him and his son was batting cricket. And I was shocked. He was batting and he's taking professional training in cricket. He's learning from a proper coach. And around 45 years ago, I also used to play cricket as a young boy. So when I saw this boy playing cricket, what shocked me was when the ball came to him, he sat and with this bat, he threw the ball in a very unconventional, unorthodox way. The right-handed batsman, the next ball, he became left-handed and he hit the ball. And in third ball came, he sat down where he was batting and he leaned on his right side and he hit the ball with his left hand. It was such a horrible shot. And when I saw that, I told him, when we were young, if we played like this, we would have been banned from cricket. And he said, "Prabhuji, today these shots are glorified." I said, "But show me one cricket coaching book where these shots are mentioned." He said, "Prabhuji, there is not a single coaching manual where this shot will be described. Coaching manuals today also are the same as they were 40 years ago. They will speak about how to hit a cover drive, how your body should be positioned, bent, how your hand should be like this, how your feet should be like this, how you should go on your back foot and hit the cover drive, hit the pull shot, how you should hit square cut, how you should defend. All the coaching manuals give conventional orthodox styles only. So he says when the boy goes to coaching school, he is taught all these orthodox conventional shots. And then when he's playing the match, suddenly at the spur of the moment, when there is a challenging situation and the run rate is high and he has to score more runs, suddenly he makes an improvisation and he does something like this, which we cricket Puritans get shocked. How can you ruin the game like this? But that's on the spot, win the match, by hook or crook, they want to win and they play these shots. So then I started laughing. I said, this is exactly the scriptures teach us. Scriptures will teach us the principles of Krishna consciousness. They will teach us what to do, what not to do, how to live a dharmic life. But when you are reading all this, you're studying all this, you're internalizing all this, but on the real life pitch, in your office, in your home, in your challenging situation, you may improvise and you may play certain shots, you may do certain things that will not be exactly mentioned in scriptures, but it is an application of the scripture principles only. But coaching manuals will not teach you these things. Similarly, we cannot expect in a Bhagavatam class or in scriptures discussions about our problems regarding eating, sleeping, sex life, and defending. Scriptures are not meant to make our material life better. Bhagavatam is meant to teach us how to love Krishna. And when we love Krishna according to Krishna's terms, then Krishna will help us manage our lives in this world better. That is the key. So therefore, we need to understand that there are no shortcuts. And Vyasdev is being told by Narad Muni that don't do all this Chalugiri, just give pure Krishna Katha. Let people connect with Krishna. And that will give happiness. And Krishna consciousness offers this happiness. Unfortunately, this world offers a stimulation or pleasure. And that stimulation is completely different from happiness. With the senses need to get stimulated, and pleasure is what we get by stimulating our senses. And that is a very selfish experience. But happiness is very deep. It is coming from the platform of the heart, the soul. Now, just like when you take prasadam, it is stimulating the senses. But when you serve prasadam, there is deeper happiness. Similarly, when we come in contact with Krishna, and when we please Krishna, when we serve Krishna, or we glorify Krishna, when we praise Krishna in first person, we are entering Krishna's space. We are entering the world of contentment and happiness. And Krishna consciousness is offering us this. In fact, the pleasures that we experience through sense gratification, the pleasure lasts very short time. But it's amazing how happiness in Krishna consciousness sometimes lasts for many years. Sometimes devotees, because of genuine practice of bhakti, for many years they remain contented and satisfied. Even though their practices may have reduced in quality, but because of their sincere practice for some time, the deep satisfaction remains for a prolonged period of time. That is the power of Krishna consciousness. So we could do a small exercise. We could spend some time, every day asking, how much did I spend time in the last 24 hours pursuing pleasure? And how much time did I spend pursuing happiness? In fact, Srila Prabhupada was so connected to Krishna and was feeling so much deep happiness that in the last days, when devotees asked him, Srila Prabhupada, do you have any desire? Prabhupada said, Kuch ichha nahi. To say this on your deathbed means you are deeply connected with Krishna. It's not possible. It's not possible for an ordinary person to say this. Generally, if we are pursuing pleasures, then we are constantly irritated and restless. But if you are experiencing deep connection with Krishna and the resultant happiness, then you will see that you're not irritated and restless when things don't go the way you want them to go. So therefore, Narad Muni is promising that if we connect with Krishna, we are connecting with the richer source of happiness. But let us make prayer, let us make the main component of prayer as praise to Krishna. And Bhagavatam is exactly doing this. Bhagavatam is praising of Krishna. Bhagavatam is glorification of Krishna. So let us read those prayers. And when we come in front of Krishna, offer those prayers in first person. So like this, we can do that. And from next verses onwards, we are going to see how Narad Muni is going to explain to Vyasdev very clearly how what he has done so far was wrong. What was wrong in what he has been doing so far. So that we will discuss now in text number 12, right? Text number 12.
12.
So we can chant the text number 12. Can you please repeat after me? Everybody has access? Okay. Naishkarmyapi achyuta bhava varjitam.
Naishkarmyapi achyuta bhava varjitam.
न शोभते ज्ञानमलं निरञ्जनम्
न शोभते ज्ञानमलं निरञ्जनम्
कुतः पुनः शश्वदभद्रमीश्वरे
कुतः पुनः शाश्वतभद्रमीश्वरे
न चार्पितं कर्म यदप्यकारणम्
न चार्पितं कर्म यद्यपि कारणम्. Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord?
So in this shloka, see, now you have to understand, please, before you go into that and understand this verse deeply, don't forget the context. The context is Narad Muni is scolding Vyasadeva for not giving pure Krishna Katha to pure devotees. So you should not find this verses very strong. Sometimes devotees are, it's not strong language. And it is needed. The context you have to understand. So in that particular context, this thing makes sense. Here Narad Muni is saying that three things are useless. Now these three things are glorified by the world. But according to Narad Muni, these three things are useless if it is achyuta bhava varjitam. Naishkarmamapi achyuta bhava varjitam. Varjitam means devoid. Achyuta bhava means emotions for Krishna. If there are no emotions for Krishna, then these three things are useless. First is naishkarmyam. Naishkarmyam means self-realization is useless if there is no emotions for Krishna. Self-realization means realizing that I am not this body, I am the soul. And second, jnanam. Jnanam means knowledge. We may know so many shlokas or so many scriptures. Narad Muni is saying, one may have lot of knowledge, one may realize that he is not the body, it's all useless. And third is, neshkarmamapya chitabhava varjitam na shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam. Niranjanam. Niranjanam means free from designation. Somebody is in the mood of a servant. Narad Muni says, even if you are free from all designations, you have a lot of knowledge, and you have realized that you're not the body, but you're the soul, still all these three is useless if there is no emotions for Krishna. What amazing depth. Sometimes we see people who have a nice service attitude, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected Ramdas, who was assisting Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. He was carrying his personal belongings, serving him food, took care of him genuinely in the mood of a servant, and he kept chanting the name of Ram, Ram, Ram. But when they came to Jagannath Puri, Lord Chaitanya ignored Ramdas completely. So it is explained how Ramdas was a Mayavadi. He was chanting Ram's name, but his mood was, I want to become Ram. So servant mood is not everything if the intention is not to be actually a servant. So many Mayavadis, they serve in the mood that I will serve now, but for me service is like a ladder, just like you use a ladder to go to a higher floor. Similarly, I will serve so that I can become what you are. So Narad Muni is saying that a person may have all three. He may have realized that he is not the body. He may know a lot of verses from the scriptures, and he may actually not want to become a famous. He may not be doing Hirogiri. He may be actually in the mood of a servant, and he may be in the background. But still, because his achyuta bhava varjitam, he is useless. That endeavor is useless. Imagine, just imagine if Narad Muni is saying if these three are useless, what to speak about people who are actually after lust and greed and money, and what will happen to them? What will Narad Muni talk about them? Those who are greedy for wealth and lust. If those are seeking self-realization, if Narad Muni is saying they are useless without Krishna, then what will be ordinary people? Like somebody wants a lot of money, what do you think Narad Muni will say about him? One poet said a nice thing. जिंदगी मिली है किसी के काम आने के लिए, जिंदगी मिली है किसी के काम आने के लिए, पर वक्त बीत रहा है कागज के टुकड़े कमाने के लिए। क्या करोगे इतने पैसे कमाकर, क्या करोगे इतने पैसे कमाकर, ना कफन में जेब है ना कब्र में अलमारी, और ये मौत के फरिश्ते तो रिश्वत भी नहीं लेते. So much we are into money and passion and lust. So what will Narad Muni talk about us? When according to Narad Muni, even self-realization without Achyuta Bhava is useless. So from animalistic life, very few people come to human life. And in human life, very few are religious. And amongst religious people, very few people accept God as a person. And amongst those who accept God as a person, there are very few who want to please Krishna and give everything to Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for those who want to love Krishna purely in Krishna's terms. So Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for Krishna lovers. That is Srimad Bhagavatam. And Narad Muni wants Vyasadeva to write a scripture for Krishna lovers, those who want to please Krishna. So therefore, this is the position of Srimad Bhagavatam. See, sincere listeners of Srimad Bhagavatam or sincere devotees of Krishna, they will not be attracted by materialistic things. Like Srila Prabhupada's lecture I was hearing, he gave a fantastic example. He says, one 8-year-old boy is going with his older brother. I found this example very hilarious. But Srila Prabhupada had this amazing genius to make very profound points through very simple examples. He said, one young boy was going with his brother outside a nice shop. So inside the shop, there was a mannequin. There was a young girl dressed in a beautiful dress. So this young boy looked at his older brother and said, I want this girl, I want this girl. So Prabhupada said, but that is a mannequin. That is not real. But he was so attracted by that unreal doll or that mannequin. Then Srila Prabhupada said, but the older brother, he may not be interested in the mannequin. He may be interested in the sales girl, the lady inside. That means she is real, whereas this mannequin is temporary. And then Srila Prabhupada said, but there may be a yogi, sage. He may be neither interested in the mannequin, not that saleswoman, but he may be interested in the soul, the Atma, the imperishable, eternal soul within the heart of that saleswoman there. And he may have compassion for that soul. So like this, Srila Prabhupada was saying how the hippies, when Srila Prabhupada went to West to preach, they were interested in drugs, LSD, they were addicted to drugs. So that means they were like the boy, in this analogy, they were like the boy addicted or interested in that mannequin. Like we, for example, the hippies were addicted to LSD, we are addicted to our smartphones. So in this analogy, our attachment to social media is like this young boy attached to a mannequin. Something which is unreal. Most people in this world are attached and attracted to unreal substances. This is level 1. But level 2 is when people are attracted to real things, although they are temporary, but they're attracted to real things. Like in this analogy, the boy is attracted to the girl, not the mannequin. The older boy is attracted to the real girl, but that real girl is also, our body is perishable. Our body is going to get old. But at least that is real. So that is level 2. And the yogi's attraction is neither to the mannequin nor to this perishable body. He is attracted to the real Atma, the soul within the body. That is level 3. That is the level at which Vyasadeva, Narad Muni are operating. But Narad Muni is at the level 4. He is at a level where he is having such dynamic emotions for Krishna that out of compassion is scolding now. He's acting out of that compassion is level 4, where there is so much of love for Krishna that it is pouring out of you. Preaching, actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that preaching is basically the result of somebody loving Krishna purely. So that is level 4. So Narad Muni and Vyasadeva are talking and discussing Krishna Katha at level 4, and we are all living at level 1 and 2, and we are analyzing what they are talking. We have no idea. We are at such a low level. We are attracted to body. We are attracted to unreal things. So this child may be desperate to get the mannequin. He may fight and cry and fret and fume to get that mannequin, not knowing that this mannequin is unreal. But his older brother may fight and he may actually run away from home to marry the girl who is actually in the shop. He may fall in love with her. So both are passionate. But both are attracted to unreal or temporary things. And a spiritual teacher who is searching for God, he may also run away from home. Like when we read Journey Home, we read how a young Richard is running away from home. He's also looking for God. So everybody is having passion. Somebody is having passion because he's seeking something unreal. Somebody is having passion because he's seeking something temporary, which is real but temporary. And somebody like a yogi may be having passion for seeking something which is eternal. So unreal, temporary, eternal, all these three cause emotions for us. But a spiritual seeker invests his emotions in eternal. He wants to go beyond. Like, for example, in this analogy, if you compare it to today it's raining so heavily in Mumbai, somebody may watch rain on an electronic screen. That is unreal. Somebody may watch rain outside his window. That is real. Somebody may see a life beyond this rain. He may see, okay, there is rain, tomorrow there will be summer, then there will be rain, winter. He may see something beyond. So everybody is accessing the same reality, but they are connecting at a different level. So Narad Muni wants Vyasadeva to also have this compassion. When we were in Kumbh Mela in the year 2000, January, that was the first Kumbh Mela of this millennium. There were millions of people. So I was with my spiritual master in one tent. I was a young brahmachari. I just joined 2 years ago. And one very sophisticated, senior, very polished officer, I think IAS officer, he came to the tent where my Guru Maharaj was preaching. And he asked questions in a very smart, polished way, very intellectual questions. And my Guru Maharaj was answering very nicely. And at one point of time, this man said, don't you have anxiety? Don't you go through anxiety and stress in life? What is your anxiety in life? Everybody has anxiety. You also must be having anxiety. So, and immediately Maharaj said, my anxiety is, why don't you take up to Krishna consciousness? My anxiety is, when will you become a devotee? So then I immediately remembered, this is exactly what Vyasadeva and Narad Muni are feeling. This is exactly what Prabhupada felt. So this is level 4, there is a lot of emotions there. So now how do we reach that stage? Today we discussed one solution. That is, we offer prayers to Krishna in first person. We praise the Lord in first person. The second thing we could do is be very authentic in our acceptance of our present situation. Srila Prabhupada says in one place that prayer means telling Krishna 3 words. Please accept me. When we come in front of the Lord and say, Krishna, see, I've done all this nonsense. I was nonsense, I am nonsense, and I will be nonsense. I was nothing, I am nothing, I will be nothing, but you are everything, Krishna. So please accept me. Wherever we are, in whatever condition we are, if we say, Krishna, please accept me, we will connect with Krishna. Srila Prabhupada would give a very nice example in this regard. He said once a small girl went to her mother and said, I also want to cook like you are cooking. Allow me to cook. So mother said, Beta, you can't do this. There is fire, there are utensils. You can't even stand in the kitchen. She said, no, I want to cook. I want to cook. So the mother gave her a kitchen kit, a toy kit. There were utensils. There was everything there. So the small girl started cooking with her friends. They started playing the game. And for 4 or 5 hours, they were playing a game where they are cooking feast. They are serving. They are living in the house. But when she was hungry, she came to her mother and said, Mother, I am hungry. Mother said, I've given you a kitchen kit. You have been cooking for the last 3 hours. Why don't you eat that only? She said, that is okay, but now I am hungry. So Srila Prabhupada said, similarly, we wanted to be the enjoyer like Krishna. Instead of enjoying with Krishna, we wanted to enjoy like Krishna, which is not possible because that is not our constitutional position. So Krishna has given us this kit, this toy of material world. Come on, play. Try to be here, enjoyer. Try to be a Lord and Master here. And we have tried that and we are not feeling happy. And when we are really hungry, we'll go to Krishna only. Krishna, I have this toy of material world, but I'm not. This is not giving me any happiness. Ultimately, we have to go to Krishna. And when we come to Krishna with these three words, Krishna, please accept me. Then we will come to the third stage, the third level, where we are connecting to eternal. Remember, the first level is connecting to unreal things, unreal platform, the mannequin. Second level is connecting to the real person, but temporary. Third level is connecting to the eternal. And that is where we enter that stage when we are able to pray, Krishna, please accept me. Krishna, I am yours. And this is how we are able to. So what we can do, the take home from today's section is that at least every day, sometime we can spend every day, sometime in a space which is not about me. Sometime in a day where it is about Krishna. Unfortunately, even when we are chanting, it's all about me only. My problems. Krishna, please help me in this. Help me in this problem. So, see, we all have obligations. We all have duties. And I see most of you who are attending this class are grasthas. So, I cannot undermine your situation and your challenges. I'm just saying your problems will never end. So, why not spend some time every day where it is not about you and your problems? Then, as I said in the beginning of the class, counterintuitively, that will guide you to address your existing problems. Because then you're entering Krishna's space, you're entering the love world. Right now, you're living in the obligation world, duty world. See, there is a difference between duty and love. See, two lovers, they meet in the park. There is no duty and obligation there. I'm saying this because I go to Hanging Garden for a walk. I see a lot of this. They are lost. They are not looking at the time. These security guards have to come and whistle. Come on, time is over. Get out of the park. But they are in those love nests and they are just lost in their world. So when I see them, I feel when will the day come when we will be like that with Krishna while chanting or deity worship? Just like two lovers in the park, they are lost. They are beyond time. It is not an obligation for them. They're not sitting in the park because it is a duty. Similarly, we need to spend some time every day with Krishna in that park of our heart, where there is no obligation, where there is no, I have to chant 16 rounds, I have to finish this, I have to finish that, I have to do this for Krishna. Something which is beyond, that is when we are nourished. For some, I know some Matajis in a temple, it is making garlands. They forget time. For some, it is attending Bhagavatam class. For some, it is attending morning Mangalarati. Everybody has their area of devotion or their area of home or their dwelling or their dugout. And when they are nourished in that dugout, in that dwelling, in that devotional space, then they enter the world of duty. Then their duties are good. Otherwise, if they're only living in the world of duty, then they will slip to the third level, which is distraction. Because distraction will pull those who are only absorbed in duty without feeling any rasa or happiness. If from morning to night your life is only filled with obligations and no connection with Krishna, then the attractions and distractions of this material world will drag you down. Because we need some love, we need some rasa. So for some devotees I know, their love space, their dwelling, their devotional space is temple. They come to temple and they become so happy when they come to temple. And they are so relieved and they are so nourished. I know some people, they come and just stare at the deities for hours. They just sit in front of the deities, they chant. It's like two lovers meeting in the park. And then they go back to their duties. So if we don't have something in Krishna consciousness which gives us that contentment which is beyond time, then we will seek that beyond time activity in movies and dirty things and things which are not healthy for us. And when we spend time with Krishna, we will feel loved in our inner world. When we feel loved in our inner world, we will be able to do our duties in the external world nicely. In fact, unfortunately, what has happened? For many of us, we have made our inner world filled with duties and obligations. Oh, I have to finish my 16 rounds. I have to do this deity worship. I have to do this devotional seva. So for many of us, our inner world has become filled with duties. And then we are seeking love in the external world. And that's why we are suffering so much. It should be the other way around. external world is only filled with duties, and internal world is where we need to seek love. So therefore, let us not underestimate. And Srila Prabhupada said, just take shelter of Krishna. So this verse, text number 12, we'll again take it up next week, and we will go deeper into this. Remember, this verse is very powerful, where Narad Muni is saying, Achyuta bhava varjitam, if there is no emotions for Krishna, then your neshkarmyam, self-realization is hollow. Your jnanam, your knowledge of scriptures is useless. And niranjanam, even if you are free from all designations, it doesn't mean anything. So this is where we'll stop now, and we'll continue next time. Any comments or questions regarding today's discussion? Please feel free. Hare Krishna. So my sincere gratitude to all of you for attending today's session. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Just 1 minute, Prabhuji, if you can. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam.
Dandavat.
Prabhuji, today's class where you explained that when you have to glorify Krishna, if he is sitting in front of you, that is something I think is really striking and needs, I personally feel I need to work upon it, because it is not our needs that we need to speak in front of Krishna. It is glorifying him and thanking him for what he has given us and how he's maintaining us. So that is one very striking thing that I heard in today's class.
I'm glad you liked it. I just want to say one more thing. When we meet some very important or senior person, I've experienced this. Sometimes I want a favor from our temple president. I just can't go and barge into his room and ask him, I want this. We're taking lunch, we sit, then I appreciate something just not as a tactic, not as a strategy. Genuinely, Prabhuji, that last week you gave this Bhagavatam class, that was so nice. And then, Prabhuji, how are you doing? Where are you going? And then slowly we talk, and then we connect with that person, and then we ask what we want. But with Krishna, we are so uncultured and uncouth. Directly, Krishna, I want this, I want this. Krishna will give everything, but pyar to karo pehle. One poet, one Urdu poet had said a very nice thing. Ibadat means prayer. इबादत तो वो है जिसमें जरूरतों का जिक्र ना हो. इबादत तो वो है जिसमें जरूरतों का जिक्र ना हो तो बस उसकी रहमतों का शुक्र हो. Means don't ask from him, but thank him for everything he has given you. Make a relationship with him. So I'm glad you like this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. We'll meet again next week.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Jai Madhav.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hari Bol.
Thank you.
Hare Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.